Hi guys, Wait, ito na. Hi guys, I'm Paulo Amador. I'm currently a fourth year student in Atelier Law School and I'm also a member of a fraternity.
Back! I can handle it. Do you need to join a sorority or a fraternity in law school? Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm Tina. I'm a corporate lawyer in the Philippines. So, this is the third episode of my law school / legal profession related FAQ series, wherein I answer your recurring questions about law school and law practice. That being said, let's jump right into today's topic about whether or not you need to join a fraternity or a sorority in law school, featuring a very special law student guest with first-hand experience on the matter, my brother Paulo. Okay, so let's just very briefly touch on what a sorority or a fraternity is. A sorority is a society for female students in university or college, while a fraternity is the counterpart for male students. In a fraternity, your co-fraternity members are called your brods. In a sorority, your co-sorority members are called your sisses. Generally, you do need to be invited to join a sorority or a fraternity. Now here is the big question. Do you need to join a sorority or a fraternity in law school? The short answer is no. Now, I say no simply because joining a fraternity or a sorority is not and will never be a requirement to either number 1, be admitted to law school, number 2, to stay in law school, number 3, to be admitted to law practice, or number 4, to continue practicing law. Just as you have the right to join whatever associations you please, you also have the negative right to not join any associations at all. So it is completely up to you and your sense of judgment or discretion whether you will join a fraternity or sorority or not. Now we come to the next important question. Is it advisable? Is it recommended to have a fraternity or sorority in law school? The short answer to that question is that it greatly depends on your personality, your priorities, your objectives and goals in law school. Okay, so to help you decide whether you should join a fraternity or a sorority, here are some factors which can help you make that quite significant decision. Let's go to the pros and cons of joining a fraternity or a sorority. The first pro is that you will gain an entire law school support system. What exactly do I mean by support system? Number 1, each sorority or fraternity has notes and other study materials. They have their own compilation of samplexes or previous exams of different professors. They have their own bar review materials or bar tips. Naturally, these notes or materials are exclusively for members of that sorority or fraternity. Now, by joining a fraternity or sorority, you gain access to that library of resources. And when I say resources, it's not just physical written notes or materials that we're talking about here. I'm talking about resources which could be even more valuable than written notes or other study materials. I'm talking about verbal feedback, as in chismes, hearsay, personal observations of your brods and sisses who have actually already undergone that aspect of law school. For example, in your sorority Viber group, you could ask, sisses, who is the terror prof for nego or negotiable instruments law? And once you find out who that terror professor is, naturally you would avoid him or her at all costs. When you're reviewing for the bar, you could ask them which author is the best for remedial law. Do you see what I mean? Because you will have so many brods and sisses who already went through the entire law school experience before you and who are already lawyers. Their feedback and tips and hacks could be very helpful for you, a struggling law student. There's no other type of law student but a struggling one, by the way. The second pro of joining a fraternity or a sorority is that you gain connections. When you join a fraternity or a sorority, you don't become affiliated with just your batchmates from that fraternity or sorority. Let's say you're a sophomore when you decide to join a fraternity. You will not just come to know other sophomores who are in that same fraternity, or freshmen or juniors or seniors from that same fraternity. Rather, you will also be introduced to generations of lawyers before you who are also members of that same fraternity. In short, this means you're more senior broads for fraternities or you're more senior sisses for sororities. So since they are your seniors who are naturally older in law practice than you are, there will be quite a lot of them already occupying high positions in government or in companies or in law firms. They could be law firm partners or head legal counsels of large companies or justices or commissioners, mayors, congressmen. Now, when fraternity or sorority members are choosing where to work when they become new lawyers, there would be a whole network of connections and contacts available to them. which if they wanted, they could tap into. This is because, of course, when new lawyers are clueless about where to apply for work, their first instinct would be to gravitate towards those law firms or companies or government offices wherein they actually know someone. And not just any casual acquaintance that they know, but actually broads or sisses. So you see, by joining a fraternity or a sorority, you gain so many connections. Di pwedeng pang anti-social. Di pala ako pwede dun. The third pro of joining a fraternity or a sorority is that you gain friends. Your batchmates in your sorority or fraternity will become your fast friends. This is one of the silver linings of undergoing the initiation process together. Basically, especially for fraternities which really, you know, you undergo quite a traumatic common experience together with your batchmates. This common experience becomes the glue that holds you guys together. Most of your fraternity or sorority batchmates will probably be the same year in law school as you are. If you have fraternity or sorority batchmates who are not the same year as you are, they'll usually just be a year ahead or a year behind you. And not just batchmates from within your section, but batchmates from other sections and other years as well. Being friends with each other, you can help each other out academically, you can trade notes, trade observations and advice about particular professors, share samplexes, you know, just have each other's backs in law school. We now move on to the cons of joining a fraternity or a sorority. The first con is that there is an initiation process which you must pass. I've spoken about the benefits of joining a fraternity or sorority, but as with all things in life, everything comes at a price. Virus lang ang libre ngayon, bes. To join that society of connections and friends and resources, you will have to undergo and of course pass that sororities or fraternities initiation process, commonly known as hazing. Now, you guys are probably curious as to how initiation works out. What exactly happens during initiation? For fraternities, we all know what happens. You get paddled, right? How many times you're paddled, what the mechanics are for that paddling varies, of course, from fraternity to fraternity. And of course, it's very likely that there will also be the infliction of extreme humiliation, or like I said, mental stress, psychological pressure, etc. It's just a lot of pain and humiliation, okay? For girls joining sororities naman, I know that you're probably thinking, babae kami, so siguro walang paddling. Wrong! I know for a fact that there are some sororities who practice paddling during initiation. Also, I've heard from my female lawyer friends the different ways by which different sororities conduct their initiations. And they ain't pretty. I have heard that some initiation rites from different sororities involve the following. First, paddling, like I said. Next, doing lewd and lascivious acts with a guy in front of your future sisses. Third, getting your arms beaten black and blue. Next, getting bitch slapped many times over. And lastly, getting hot candle wax dripped onto your skin. Ouch! More often than not, it involves the infliction of physical pain. Back! Mental pressure, mind games, humiliation, and in general, extreme physical, psychological, emotional, and mental stress. To get an idea of how extreme the infliction of pain can get for some fraternities, I'm gonna be flashing on screen some news articles about hazings gone horribly wrong. I don't know if there's a bigger con than the possibility that you might actually die. You could actually die, you guys. Now, I know what some of you guys who are interested in joining a frat are thinking. Especially yung mga macho dyan. You're thinking, it's just a little bit of pain. I can handle it. Or at least, these can handle it. But really, the problem there is not whether or not you have the ability to withstand physical pain. The problem is if you have an underlying medical condition, whether known to you or not, which could increase your likelihood of dying from getting beaten or paddled during your hazing. Examples would be epilepsy or a weak heart. Think of it this way. There is a reason why lawmakers decided to make hazing illegal. Yes, under RA 111053 or the Anti-Hazing Act of 2018, all forms of hazing have been criminalized. In general, that act defines hazing as follows. What I'm saying here is that they didn't make hazing illegal for no reason. They did it because it's dangerous. Also, and you can look at it this way, do you really think that those young men who died during their initiation rites thought that they were going to die during hazing? If they knew that they were gonna die, do you think that they would have gone through with it? I'm sure that they wouldn't. I'm not telling you to not join a fraternity. I'm just saying that there's a concomitant risk. The second con of joining a fraternity or a sorority is that it could distract you from academics, which is supposed to be the focus. You're in law school. Your initiation does not end with you getting whacked by a paddle or getting bitch slapped across the face 30 times. Aside from passing your initiation, there are many other obligations which you must fulfill in order to be admitted to that fraternity or sorority. When you're a neophyte, you have to do all the tasks assigned to you by your senior broad or senior sis. Like for example, get them these hard-to-find notes and hand-deliver it to them. Or buy them cigarettes in the middle of the night. You have to propose and spearhead and implement projects for your fraternity or sorority. You have to distribute solicitation letters to broads or sisses and find sponsors for frat or soro activities. You have to participate in initiatives and fundraisers of your fraternity or sorority. Even when you're a lawyer already, let's say you're a senior partner in a law firm, you would still be expected to give money for fraternity or sorority activities. Sure, you're gaining resources and connections, but you're also gaining duties and obligations and expectations. The third con of joining a fraternity or a sorority is that you may gain enemies. Or at the very least, there may be friction between you and members of opposing fraternities or sororities. Traditionally, in law schools with more than one fraternity or sorority, there are rivalries. This sorority hates this sorority, this fraternity is mortal enemies with this fraternity. When you join a fraternity or a sorority, you're not just you become a member of a bigger group. And naturally, you adhere to, you adopt the ideologies of that group. You also assimilate the beliefs of that herd. For example, if you're in a sorority and you feel like you've been maligned by another sorority, then of course, you're going to fight back as a sorority. So talagang it's very likely na maraming inisan yan sa law school. Kahit nga magkabanggaan lang kayo sa corridor, it could become a source of a rumble. Again, I'm not telling you not to join a fraternity or sorority. I'm just telling you that when you join one, you have to be aware that that happens, and you have to be prepared to deal with it. Now let's go to my own personal opinion about joining a fraternity or a sorority. Let me start this portion by saying that what I'm about to say here are purely my own personal opinions. They're my personal thoughts on the issue, my preferences, and my decision based on my personality. I'm just telling you my story. I'm not hating on anyone who has joined a fraternity or a sorority, or anyone who's thinking of joining one. I'm sure that they had or have legitimate reasons for joining, just as I had legitimate reasons for not joining. I did not. And if I had to go through law school all over again, then I would still not. Actually, not in a million years. Never. No. So, why didn't I? It's because I never saw the need to join one. I knew that I was gonna be just fine, and in fact probably a lot happier without one, as I had always been in the past. I'm also an introvert, especially around new people. So the thought of having to interact and socialize with people that I didn't know and didn't necessarily want to know, it was crazy to me. Why would I want to do that to myself? Is not law school torture enough? No, 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 no. Also, I hate feeling socially obligated to do stuff. I don't like being told what to do. For those who do have the same type of personality as I do, I'm sure you get it. Also, since I was a kid, I've always been very independent. Actually, I remember nung kinder, di ba pag kinder ka, may mga awards na most sociable, most cheerful. I remember that my award was most independent. If I want something done, I'm not gonna ask for other people's opinions before doing that thing. I'm not even gonna ask them for help. I'm just gonna go do it myself. So there, you can really see the link between me really not feeling like I needed a support group or a sorority. For me, for my personality type, it would have been so unnecessary. Kwento lang pala, I have a friend. She is the most fabulous and funny and talented lawyer that I know. Like me, she also deliberately chose not to join a sorority. She told me, and I always found this super funny and I never forgot it. She told me, why would I allow them to slap me? Mas mataas pa nga yung grades ko sa kanila eh. So you see, some people feel very strongly against joining frats or soros. And that is totally fine and totally normal. I mean, different strokes for different folks. That's life. On the flip side naman are people who are for joining fraternities and sororities, backed of course by their equally legitimate personality traits, preferences, goals, and priorities. One of such people is my brother Paulo, a senior in Ateneo Law School and a fraternity member, who I have tapped as a very special resource speaker for this topic. Pao is gonna talk about his personal experience as a frat man, what he likes about being in a frat, what he doesn't, whether it helped him, and his advice to those thinking of joining a fraternity or a sorority. So without any further ado, I am turning you over to my brother Paulo right now.
Hi guys, Okay, ito na. Hi guys, I'm Paulo Amador. I'm currently a fourth year student in Ateneo Law School and I'm also a member of a fraternity. Why did I decide to join one? The answer for me back then was really simple. It's because I needed a support system. Just to give you guys a little background, when I was a college student, I wasn't exactly the brightest student. I didn't get good grades, and as a matter of fact, I even failed a few subjects in college. So going into law school, which I knew was a completely different animal, I was realistically aware that I was academically unequipped for it. So that's really why what I was looking for was a support system, particularly an academic support system, because I knew that's what I needed the most, and I knew what I lacked the most was in my academics. And it just so happens that's what you need the most in law school. And I think that's one of the good things that you'll find if you decide to join a fraternity or a sorority. It's the academic support, because in an affiliation, you're gonna have members spanning across all the years: first year, second year, third year, fourth year. What this means is that you're always gonna have someone directly a year above you to give you the academic help that you need, because they just took the subjects that you're currently taking, and it could be the case that they took it under the professors that you're currently taking too. And trust me, that kind of academic help can go a long way, because then the advice they could give you isn't just limited to the subject matter. It can include how the prof asks recit questions, how he grades exams, the kinds of questions he asks in exams, and things like that. And that kind of edge can go a long way, because trust me, in law school, you're gonna need all the help you can get. And at this point, I know what you might be thinking. Well, can't you just get academic help from friends, from peers, or from upperclassmen without having to join an affiliation? And the answer is yes, you can. But really the difference is, and this is speaking from personal experience, the difference between a broad and a cis and just someone, a student, a friend, a peer, is the willingness to help. So what do I mean by willingness to help? It's pretty simple. Broads and cisses, they're never gonna hesitate to give you the kind of help that you need, whether it's academic or otherwise. And the reason they won't ever hesitate to help is simply by virtue of the fact that you're a broad or you're a cis, and that's it. Whereas other people, understandably speaking, it's hard to find someone who's willing to sacrifice their own time and go out of their own way just to help you. Because the truth is, in law school, there are a lot of crabs. And trust me, in law school, you're always gonna encounter something that you need help with. And it really does help that there are people that you can go straight to seek help or to seek advice from. My sister asked me what are the things I like about joining a frat. And honestly, if I talked about all of them, then this video would just be too long. So instead, I'm gonna talk about one thing, which is the answer that came to mind when she first asked me that question. What I really like about being in a frat is the people I get to meet. A very concrete example, my closest friends in law school are my frat batchmates who happen to be my blockmates too, and I probably would have met them even if I hadn't joined the frat. But I seriously doubt I would have been as close with them if I hadn't. But it's not just the broads who I got to meet in law school, but even the alumni broads or the broads who've graduated a long time ago. Through the frat, I was able to meet Supreme Court justices, judges, Sandigan Bayan justices, mayors, legal luminaries, partners in big law firms. Basically, people I probably wouldn't have met if not through the frat. And really to me, it feels like an honor and a humbling experience whenever I get to meet alumni broads, because no matter how much they've achieved in the legal world, they always treat us like an equal. And when I say us, I mean the resident broads, or basically all the broads who are younger than they are. And on that point, I think that's one thing you should look for in an affiliation. It's how the members respect each other. If you're thinking about joining an affiliation where the senior members treat the junior members like dirt, or like slaves or underlings, then you might want to reconsider your decision, because the decision to join a fraternity or sorority doesn't just last through the 4 years of law school. It lasts a lifetime. So you have to make sure that the fraternity or sorority you're joining is a good one, and it's one that's good to its members. The next question is if there are things that I don't like about being in a frat. But before I answer that question, I think there's something I'm gonna have to talk about a bit first. So as a general rule of thumb, in law school, if there are things that take you away from your studies, then it's probably not a good thing. Because remember, as a law student, your primary responsibility is to your studies first. Everything comes next after that. Whether it's family life, your social life, your me time, whatever. How you choose to rank it is up to you. But really, your number one priority as a student should be your studies. So with that being said, true, some things may take you away from your studies, therefore they're not necessarily good things. But then you have to ask yourself, is it worth it? Is it worth the fact that you lose study time over those things? And many of the times, you're gonna find the answer is yes. There are a lot of things that will take you away from your studies, but the truth is, at the end of the day, they're always worth it. Now really the biggest thing that comes to mind when you talk about any frat or any sorority in law school is bar-ups. For most, if not all law school frats or sororities, the biggest amount of work you're gonna do is for the bar-ups period. So bar-ups in a nutshell is every weekend for an entire month where the entire fraternity or sorority is taking care of their members who are about to take the bar. For one whole month, weekdays and weekends, you're making sure that the barristers don't encounter any problems while taking the bar and that everything for that month is smooth sailing. Now, historically, the bar exam takes place in November. What this means for our academic calendar is that it takes place 1 month before our first sem final exams. The schedule for the bar-ups is so close to the final exams that basically it takes away all your time to study, which you should be using to study for the final exams. And when I say it takes up all your time, that's no joke. It probably takes up 90% of your free time. Because on your weekends, when you should be studying in advance for your final exams, you're in the hotel or your bar operations website with your barristers, taking care of them, making sure that they have everything they need, and you're there for 2 days, Saturday and Sunday. So that's 2 whole days, 48 hours that you should be spending studying, taken away from you. But then we ask ourselves, is it worth it? And we always say yes, it is entirely worth it. It's always such a good feeling knowing that the barristers of your fraternity or sorority passed the bar exam. It's a really fulfilling experience knowing that the barrister that you helped in the bar eventually passes the bar. There is no other feeling like it. It's one of the best feelings in law school that I've had. So yeah, that's probably what I like least about being in a frat. It's bar-ups. And I think most members of law school fraternities or sororities would agree that that's the most disliked activity. Another question is, did my frat help me? I can say in all honesty that my frat did help me. It taught me how to study smart and how to manage my time efficiently. Those two things are extremely important in law school. Oh shit, I spaced out. My frat helped me in that regard because it forced me to balance my priorities between studying, frat work, and everything else. I thought I'd give a more concrete example of how my frat helped me. So the Juris Doctor curriculum in Ateneo Law School is one that's thesis-based, which means that every student has to write a thesis. My frat helped me because I have a broad who actually gave me my thesis topic, which I'm using today. You see, I had topic proposals in mind. I wrote about them, I passed those proposals for approval, but unfortunately, they were all rejected. So, in passing, I just happened to tell abroad that I was having problems with thesis, that I didn't have a thesis topic, and he gave me a thesis topic. Just like that. And it happened to be viable. And right now, I'm 17,000 words deep into writing it. If I were to give advice to someone not based on my own personal experiences about whether or not they should join a fraternity or sorority, I tell them to ask 3 big things. First is the joining process. My sister talked about that earlier, and I think it's self-explanatory why it's an important question you should ask. The second thing you should ask is what it entails to be a member. What will be expected from you and what will be demanded of you once you're a member. Because remember, as I said earlier, as a general rule of thumb, anything that takes you away from your studies isn't a good thing. And the third thing you should ask is, what will life be like after law school? What I'm talking about is the connections or the network that the frat has. Because let's be real, having connections is a good thing and it can help you a long way. What I mean by that is you should simply consider where you think and where you feel your frat or sorority will take you 30 or 40 or 50 years down the line. That really does have a lot to do with the kind of values the fraternity or sorority espouses. And really, it's up to you to determine if those values align with the kind of lawyer that you want to be. Do you need to join a fraternity or a sorority in law school? No, you don't. I agree with my sister on that one. But I won't be the one to tell you that you shouldn't. At the same time, I won't be the one to tell you that you should. If you think about it, deciding to join a fraternity or sorority is like deciding to go to law school. You can have 1,000 reasons for it. There are no good reasons and there are no bad reasons. But there are some reasons that should weigh heavier upon you than others. Those reasons should ultimately be up to you. That's all I have to say about that.
And that's it. You heard it from Pao, who is obviously someone with first-hand experience on the matter. Thank you so much to my brother for taking time out of his super busy thesis drafting, online class attending life just to be in his sister's little video. As a final word, it's important to think long and hard about your decision of whether or not to join a fraternity or a sorority because it's a lifelong decision. Paulo and I each gave you our insights, but ultimately, the only person who can tell you whether or not to join a fraternity or a sorority, taking into account your personal preferences, your goals, your personality, your priorities, is you yourself. So, use the factors and the pros and the cons that Paulo and I shared with you earlier to carefully weigh and consider whether you yourself should join a fraternity or a sorority. But regardless of what option you choose, just make sure that peer pressure or pressure to fit in does not play a part in your decision. You are, after all, your own person, with or without a fraternity or sorority. So that's it. If you learned from this video, then please give it a thumbs up. Please also don't forget to subscribe to my channel and to hit the notification bell below so you never miss a future video. Thank you so much for watching, stay safe, and see you in my next video. Bye!